baby. All right.
Yeah, this was interesting.
This was super interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are we going to get deflation for Christmas? We've talked so much about inflation and we've talked about so much of disinflation, but what about deflation? So what's inflation? Inflation is when the price of things go up. Disinflation? Well, disinflation is when the price of things go up, but slower than as they were going up before. A slower rate of inflation. Well, what's deflation? Well, that's when prices are going down. Well, it looks like we've avoided deflation for a long time in the United States. We've been in disinflation for a while. Our inflation rate is coming down. This past month, we're at like 3.1, 3.2%, something around there. Now we have top executives of top retailers saying that we could actually see decreases in prices, not just decreases in the rate of increases, but genuine decreases in prices. They say that toys are almost 3% cheaper this Christmas than government data shows from last year. They have sport equipment down nearly 2%. Bigger ticket items are also seeing declines of washing machines costing 12% less than a year ago. Eggs are 22% less than they were a year ago. So we're seeing a genuine decline in prices in very specific goods. Forecasters are estimating that physical products will keep falling within the next year. So these are all manufactured goods that are going to be seeing a deflation in prices. Mm-hmm. And consumers have been remarkably resilient so far in the last year. We had a record-setting 5.2% GDP growth in quarter 3 of 2023, and the main driver of that was consumption.
Yeah.
We saw a massive amount in consumption, and our data shows that the American consumer has more money to spend. Real disposable income in the United States is above what it was pre-COVID, so real disposable income is increasing. And we have the personal saving rates decreasing. So people are saving less of their money and choosing to spend more of it, which means that they feel pretty comfortable with where they're at right now.
Yeah, and I think this trend is only going to continue that. It's only going to boost that. First of all, I assume this is happening mostly because supply chain issues have been resolved.
That's exactly right.
Right? Like when you mention eggs have dropped 22%, a big problem with eggs, or at least it was reported, was the avian flu, right? That went through and wiped out a ton of chickens, or hens, I think, are the ones that lay eggs.
You think I know about anything about animals?
No,
okay.
I shouldn't. But now that's being resolved, and so I think it's good that people have tightened their people, even though consumption has been resilient. I think on some goods, it makes sense that consumption has decreased and that's driving deflation, because it means that producers have to be accountable, right? These prices can't just be raised to anything, because people will cut out goods that are inflating too fast. So now we've talked about before how we don't expect the economy to go into deflation overall, but the sentiment that eggs are still $6 a dozen. Well, maybe that doesn't have to be true.
Right.
Maybe our economy can still grow while the biggest, most specific pain points are dissuaded a little bit.
Right. Like the big problem with deflation comes if it's also alongside weakening consumer spending.
Yes.
That's when deflation's bad, right? Mm-hmm. Deflation may be a sign of weakening consumer spending, but if we get through the holiday season, consumer spending is still high and we have deflation, then we've hit soft landing, baby.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
That's what that's all about.
Yeah.
And so I was doing some research on like these different companies that model consumer behavior, and Deloitte publishes their report every holiday season. What's going to happen with the consumers? How are they feeling? Well, they see that consumers are expecting to spend a lot more money than what they were last year. So they expect to spend, the average consumer is expected to spend $1,652 this holiday season,
wow,
which is a 14% year over year increase from last year.
Wow.
So that shows the consumer base is very, very resilient, and they are excited to go out and spend money.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a really good thing to see from the holiday season.
Which is also still it's surprisingly good to me.
Right.
It's not just good. With student loans being continued, it's really impressive to me.
The issue with the reason that this doesn't really that doesn't play too much into it is because they're not the people who are paying back their student loans, most notably, are not the main drivers of the consumers. They're not really the moms and dads buying their kids the toys. Do you know what I mean? Like the 40-year-olds. The 40-year-olds aren't the ones with the most amount of the student loan debt.
Okay. I suppose.
Yeah. But yeah, so definitely good news. And I wanted to say one more thing about, we said that the personal savings rate was going down. That can be a little bit of a difficult thing to understand. You might hear that and think, oh no, is the American person not able to save as much money as they once were? Their saving rate is down. Does that mean they're not saving as much money? That might have been the case, but that would be the case if not for this other metric, the real personal savings rate. The real personal overall savings. So real overall savings is twice as much what it was in 2006, while the rate of savings is lower. So people not only are saving less of their paycheck, but they have more in their savings than they did a decade ago.
Interesting.
And that's why they don't feel like they need to, their savings rate can be so low, because they don't need to save as much anymore. Because they have more in their savings account.
Basically, we're a rich enough economy right now that like you don't have to splurge a ton of your money to feel like you have a great life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
That's awesome.
So yeah, consumer spending is looking good. It looks like it's going to be a very, very expansive holiday season. And it goes against a lot of our media narratives about inflation, about the economy. And I think once we get through these next couple months, I think consumer confidence is going to change a lot. I think it's only going to take 3 more months for it to really settle in, because once we start seeing inflation numbers that are below 3%, which are just around the corner, believe it or not, it's going to be a whole different story on the news every day.
Yeah, that's true. They won't be able to even pretend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.